you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Berlin. What an honor.
Vielen Dank.
At this conference, it's really a pleasure to see you all. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, danke, dass Sie alle hier sind.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is great to welcome you here in Berlin, and it's great that we can spend this day together. A conference of hope has now become a conference in the background of crisis and war. And these days we see how dramatic the mistakes of the past have been. Of course, this not only concerns Germany and Europe, but also the entire world. And Annalena Baerbock has just talked about the foreign policy impacts of the crisis. And again, I'd like to underline what we sometimes tend to forget. Foreign policy and energy and climate policy are closely intertwined, and we attach importance to this in our government. And we believe that our national effort and the international consequences are to be a consistent policy, a consistent approach. This is the approach of this government, and it is the background of this conference, which has been co-organized by the two ministries. And thank you very much. Thanks to the staff and the many people who have been preparing this conference. And we as conference participants sometimes seem to forget how much work is behind such events. And you have to book the flights, the hotels, and also prepare the rooms and prepare the overall organization of the day. So thank you for making this possible.
Yes, it's your applause. Wir sehen die Fehler der Vergangenheit.
We see that mistakes were made in the past. Over the past few years and decades, Germany has led its energy policy in a direction of dependence. This is, first of all, Germany's problem, but we may generalize, I believe, and saying that energy policy is not only economic policy. And if we think about human history, it has never been so entirely. Energy policy is always a policy of interests, of power, and by extension, security interests. So this is very important, and it's hard to imagine that it was possible to forget this. It can only be explained by a political attitude which says that there's no such thing as a policy of interests. We are living in a world that is dominated by markets, that are entirely determined by markets, and there's no more role for politics. The fewer taxes there are, the less economic intervention there is, the better for the world. So this has been the policy approach of the past 30 years that has shaped globalization. And these days, these weeks, have become a watershed in the way that we have seen that policy and politics is not best when there's no political intervention. We are now at a stage when politics has to reinvent itself and restate its goals. We must be clear that politics has a role to play, and the policymakers may have to take important decisions. Reducing Germany's energy dependence on Russia is very important. The energy dependence is about 50% of on Russian coal and gas, and these decisions were not removed after Russia's annexation of Crimea, because afterwards we still went on with the Nord Stream 2 project. After Russia had intervened in Syria, after Georgia had been, after there had been military intervention in Georgia. So it was not a clever idea to become dependent on this country. We now see that there is great political, a great war right here in Europe, a war that has never been seen for 70 years. And we now have to recognize that we did wrong in the past. This is the situation we're seeing now. And for these reasons, Germany and Europe are now becoming independent from Russian fossil energy, step by step. This is necessary for geopolitical reasons, as I've just said. But this will also have a consequence. The consequence is both direct and indirect. The direct effect is that prices have risen and that energy demand has surged. Speculation on the markets has also been driving prices, also the countries you are coming from. There's high inflation. It is higher above expectations, about 8% right now. And consumers and companies, countries are suffering under this situation. Germany and Europe are wealthy, and our economies, despite the hardships and the difficulties involved in this, and despite all the concerns around inflation, as an economy, Germany can overcome this challenge, and the European economy can so too. But this may be addressed in the bilateral talks today. It is not very hard to see that foregoing Russian energy is also important. But there will also be a gas and oil shortage on the world market, first of all. So it is not very easy to replace Russian energy imports. But the idea is not to replace them, because it is precisely a sanction against this war. If there's not enough oil and gas on the world market, there's also a shortage in your countries. So despite all the difficulties and the burdens we have to bear, we see that it is not as easy for other countries with a stable economy to bear this burden. So we must pay attention and see to it that our economic transition does not become a burden for other countries. So we must not push this burden over to other countries. It is very important to discuss this together. The indirect effects go far beyond this, go far beyond high prices, which threaten your economies. But we also see that certain products may not be produced in sufficient quantities. Fertilizers, for example, need a lot of gas. If there's a gas shortage, we may also see a loss in the amount of fertilizers we need to secure global food security. And combined with losses of wheat from Ukraine or from Russia, this can lead to famines in certain countries, and famines are very often the cause of social unrest and political unrest. This conference takes place at a point in time when we have to understand as world community that a politically stable world is now on the brink of a turning point, and it is being threatened. So therefore, it is so important that this conference takes place and that we coordinate our measures and strategies, that we support each other. And now, this is where the situation of the war in Ukraine and the situation we are witnessing, its consequences in terms of energy policy, and the momentum of this conference, which is to be a signal of hope. All of this is to be seen in the light of the consequences of the war, which we have to address? And the answer is the expansion of renewable energy and energy efficiency. We must boost energy efficiency and save energy wherever possible. We must use and apply technology in a way that saves energy. But we must also upscale renewable energy, also in the short term and above all in the long term. This is our key strategy. In this way, and this is not very easy to say because the background is very tragic as we sit here today, as we have lunch later today and see this conference. People are dying. People are being displaced, and this is a very tragic conflict. So we mustn't be cynical if we talk about this, but the pressure for action can be seen very clearly. And we can also take many important and right decisions in these times, addressing the structural crisis of our times, the very rapid global warming, and addressing humanitarian crises are now something we can do very faster if we address this geopolitical conflict. And this is what I believe should be the subject of this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, globalization is understood to be a place where markets are interacting, but this is coming under pressure. And we see that the world's political order is changing. Sometimes globalization is seen in terms of the markets, but there's also another aspect of globalization, addressing problems together. There are trade conflicts, there are new regional interests, certain countries connect economic activity to local activity. Germany and Europe are creating resilience strategies, infrastructure, semiconductor production, hydrogen production, and the idea is to bring these technologies back to Europe, even if it's more expensive than in other parts of the world. So there is a tendency of deglobalization, but a globalization that believes that the lowest standard is always the best economic choice is wrong. But what is important is that we cooperate, that we agree at political level what sustainability is all about, that we agree on the important values to be protected. And at these times, we see that climate neutrality and the expansion of a green economy are closely intertwined with peace and security policy. And we may also say that fossil energies tend to create economic monopolies and also political monopolies. Monopolies have to be defended. So fossil energies create authoritarian tendencies. Renewable energies, however, are theoretically, at least, designed to create energy supply that is more socially just, and the sun doesn't belong to anyone. So if we are clever, we will create the right energy policy that will ensure prosperity and boost prosperity while protecting peace in the world. This is what this conference is all about. Thanks for coming to Berlin. I'm looking forward to the talks and our discussions. Thank you.